People laugh at sheep because they follow the one in front. And what's going on? I mean, I stood there once at the side of a field and I watched this enormous flock of sheep walk down the hill. And there was a guy in front with a stick in his hand, and there was a sheepdog. And the shepherd had no power whatsoever, incredibly symbolic of the dynamic between the public and authority. He had no power whatsoever, except the power the sheep gave him by just following him. And then any sheep that didn't want to do that, they got the sheepdog, symbolic of fear. And if you look at that dynamic, that has allowed the few to control the many throughout known human history. That simple thing. I'll do what authority says, I'll believe what authority tells me, and if I don't want to do that, I am open to being brought back into line through fear. That's what's running it, and that's what's driving the coordination across the generations to push the world in the direction it's been going. It's a very, very long-term plan. And just to lay this out in terms of structure, you have two completely different worlds. The two worlds are this cult and the secret society network with its fierce compartmentalization. So most of the people in it don't know any of this. They certainly don't know it down the road from here. And then you've got the public, the world of the seen. And the world of the seen has to be kept in ignorance of what this knows, because that's the power. We know what you don't know, so that gives us power over you. And so over the generations, passing through this secret society network, this global cult in all its forms, is the plan for where humanity...
Only on Be Positive.
Also, the nature of reality. The nature of reality is passed on. So through the generations, this level of knowledge is massively greater than this level of knowledge, because the whole structure of education and media in the public arena is to keep people in ignorance of what they know. And so you get a situation where when you communicate what this cult is doing, so many people in the public arena will just dismiss it because they'll say it's not possible, they can't do that. Well, no, they can't do that from the perception of reality that you have. But they're not coming from that perception of reality. They're coming from a reality much greater. And this is where censorship's coming from now, because what's starting to happen with the alternative media, and this is terrified that they will find out what they know. And so that's not only on the basis of what's planned, it's crucially on the basis of the nature of reality. Because they know how reality works and how we interact with it. They can manipulate us with that knowledge, while we think, but public in general think that reality is just, a physical world. And who am I? Where am I? I have no idea. Where do I come from? Where am I going? What's going on here? What is this place? That's the level of ignorance, and it's systematic. But it's kind of funny, this reflex action. It can't be happening. And this is all part of this programming, because one of the greatest forms of programming is to limit the sense of the possible. It's so powerful. If you limit the sense of the possible, then you can go on outside their sense of the possible, manipulating them to heart's content, and they'll never know, because they don't believe what you're doing is possible, because you've limited their sense of the possible. And this is one of the great things that has to happen. We have to open our minds to all possibility, open the sluice gates to the mind, as I say, and let other possibility flood in, and then we'll see.
Only on Be Positive.
There are other ways of explaining the world, and one of them is certainly that there's a non-human force manipulating human society. Why are this cult, via its billionaires and billionaire corporation expressions, seeking to divide us more and more and more and more? Why are they doing that? Because they have to set the target population at war with itself, so that we're fighting each other, and therefore leave them free to pull the strings of everyone. So one of the things I've gone on about a couple of times today is when you self-identify with labels, you're self-identifying with limitation. You're self-identifying with what I call the phantom self, which is an experience, not you. The reason they brought in and funded and promoted this abomination called identity politics is to subdivide the previous labels, the man, woman, whatever, to subdivide them into even smaller labels. Because they don't want people here, they want people here. And if they can make it even smaller, then go ahead. I understand why they believe what they believe, because they've been through an intense programming through the hijacked education system and etc. that has made them see the world in a certain way, because they've been going to school and they've been going to university, and every day the same thing's been imposed upon them. You can be banned for saying something that is provably evidentially true because it's the wrong thing to the woke mentality. That has nothing to do with whether something's true or not. What the body is an information field. It's like a Wi-Fi field in its base form. It's like a waveform Wi-Fi field, and it's an information field. So, the information fields will be at least slightly different. We have to be manipulated to perceive the physical, therefore the apartness, the world of apartness, apparent apartness, see the world of unity. And this is why the way of getting out of this situation we're in is to go to consciousness and not judge everyone and judge everything by what the five senses are telling us. But when you expand your awareness through self-identifying with the fact that you are consciousness in your prime form and not the body you're experiencing, then you're in the world through your five senses, because that's what we're here to experience. But you're not of the world in terms of all your perceptions of the world. And from this perspective, you start to see things in a completely different way. Instead of seeing dots and random,
only on Be Positive,
you see pictures, pattern, and coordination. So many people have broken out of this perceptual Alcatraz of seeing the world the way they're told to see it. The experience has become such, and the way the world has changed has become such that it has actually got them to say, well, hold on a minute, what is going on? But what is going on? Why are they doing that? I know it's not right. I know there's an agenda here, but what is it? And why are they doing that? What all the news organizations and the mainstream media are doing, and why all this censorship is going on, is they don't want people to have context, because once you have context, you see it. So when people are posting on the internet, on these social media platforms, information that puts current events into context, why is it happening and how is it happening, they get censored. They get censored because that's the last thing this cult wants, is people to have context. Why and how. You're seeing these different states of consciousness so clearly now. You've got the state of consciousness that believes what it's told and does what it's told and doesn't question, and gets many times very angry and often vicious if you don't accept to do the same and just be as closed-minded as they are. And then you've got this other consciousness. This consciousness wants freedom. It wants joy. It wants ability to live your life as you choose. It wants peace. So everyone who opens their heart, everyone that laughs in the face of fear, everyone that just realizes that we're all that is, has been, and ever can be, and this is just a short experience in a crazy world called human, the more people do that, we are putting that frequency into the field. And we're changing the frequency and the information nature of the field. And so that starts affecting people. Because instead of being affected by this low vibrational density, suddenly people are being affected by something else, much higher, and sees the world differently. We need to go above that. And because this world is a manifestation of human consciousness, that's what it is. That's the very process by which the cult controls humanity.
Only on Be Positive.
Controls perception, thus perception becomes individual behavior collectively. It becomes collective behavior, which is human society. So the key to changing this and the manifestations, the perception, consciousness that we're now experiencing, is to change perception. change consciousness, change self-identity. So we identify with being the consciousness that we eternally are, and not the names and labels that we briefly identify with in a human life. That's where this change is going to take place.